Yo, everyone, and welcome to an I'm fanfic for you. We're back with another part of What If Issei Had a Harem from Rosario Vampire. But before we start, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more awesome contents. Now, let's start to part 2. The very next day after Yukari Sendo had confessed her love for Issei, she had come down with the flu and couldn't make it to school today because of it, and Issei, Moka and Kurumu promised to visit the little witch when she got better. The morning. Issei was walking with Moka when she suddenly bit his neck, and after she sucked his blood for 6.5 minutes, and he noticed that it had become difficult for her to jump up to his height, resulting him to bend his knees a bit, and he had to walk with a bit of a cramp. To him, Moka sucking his blood doesn't bend his sexual desires, which means he doesn't have a kink, and the two walk to the academy. Issei knew that it's already been a whole month since he's been to Yokai Academy, and a whole month being the most powerful monster in the academy. The RRING. This Nekonim arrived and said that she had an announcement to make. This Nekonim. The goal of this academy is to teach monsters to coexist with human society. It's time to bring that to the next level. Starting today you will join a club. The class was silent and the only sound that came after the announcement was from Issei. Issei? Huh. Oh yeah, clubs. Issei had a downcast face when the word club was mentioned. Ddraig. Boy, you're still thinking about them? Issei. Sigh, yeah, but let's leave them behind, there's no going back now. Ddraig could see that his host was a bit sad about losing his life to the mutt, Fenrir, but what could you do against a god-killing dog? Miss Nekonim looked towards Issei, and she knocked him out of his thoughts, and class continued. Miss Nekonim. There's no better way to understand human thinking than by participating in human sports and hobbies. Plus you'll get so much better physical transformation by having to keep your human forms during different activities. Male. Sensei. Miss Nekonim looked at the student who called her out. Miss Nekonim. Yes. The male pointed at Miss Nekonim, laughing. Male. Then what club did you learn to keep your human form at? Miss Nekonim looked and saw that her tail was twitching, and the students exclaimed that it was the first time they saw her tail. In response to this, Miss Nekonim meowed and hissed and began to claw the student's face in embarrassment, shocking the class, and hides her twitching tail with a notepad. The student walked to his desk while in pain, holding his clawed up face. Miss Nekonim. Now. Any more questions about club participation? The class was silent. Miss Nekonim. Excellent. Then look over the list of clubs available and pick one that suits you. Later on. The halls of the academy were full of students looking to join a club, as banners, pictures and other things that showed what the club does and offers to anyone who joins them. Issei looked at the hall with amazement, as this amount of excitement to join a club never happened in Kuoh Academy. Chatting and yammering came from the students, who discussed in groups or individually about the different clubs that varied. Issei. This is amazing. I didn't think there'd be so many. He said, excited. Moka. What club should we join, Issei? Issei pondered about it. Issei. There's many things here, so let's look around for a bit. Moka. Yeah. While walking with Moka hand in hand, many male students praised Moka for her cuteness, and it has gone on for far too long, so Issei just lets his power pulse around to either make the males sick or knock them out, in which he chose the second option, making 4 males fall to the ground unconscious. Issei and Moka were looking around when someone called out Moka, and they turned around to see a male who was holding a camera and had his face looking like a scary ghost, and actual ghosts flying away from his body, making Issei and Moka have a sweat drop on their faces, and the male then asked if nudes were okay, and he got his camera flicked into the wall by Issei, breaking it into pieces, leaving. The male shocked and looked at Issei's face, which was displeased, and he ran away to see if he could get members to join his photography club. Then they went to see a science club, and Issei was offered love potions by the girls of the club, and Moka was offered the same potion by the males, but both declined and moved on to the next club, and it was an acupuncture club and the mummy club, and they walked away since it was too weird. Issei and Moka stepped out of the school building, but were stopped by a girl who has turquoise colored hair, along with having fair skin and yellow colored eyes. I'm the club president, Tamao Ichinis. Come on in. Male students came running outside when the offer to swim with hot girls in swimsuits made them overjoyed. Issei, who had been looking for about 2 hours for a club, didn't have any luck, and so the swimming club was the only option left, and Moka looked like she didn't like what Issei chose. Issei. Huh. Club looks normal. I'll take a temporary trail. Issei stated as he found a club that was available. Issei did seem to notice that Tamao Ichinis held his face with a bit of difficulty due to his height, and her hands reached his face and made him face her. Ichinis. Right now our club's all girls. I guarantee we'd make you feel welcome. The girls of the club led Issei and the sweating Moka to the pool. Ichinis then welcomes all of the new members of the Yokai Academy swim club. Several male members shouted in joy when they saw all of the girls in their swimwear. Seeing breasts bounce made them even more overjoyed. Itchiness. Everybody in the pool. We've got some swimsuits for you. Itchiness pointed to a vendor that had swimming trunks, and male students tumbled over each other to get dressed and jump into the pool. Everyone was enjoying themselves in the pool, playing with beach balls, hanging and chazzing around the hot girls. Issei. I've got to admit this looks fun as hell. While Issei was looking excitedly at the pool, Moka looked at the water with worry and a sweat drop on her face. Moka. Issei. I don't really want to swim. Issei took Moka to a bench and sat down with her and held her head and closed his eyes. In the Rosary. Issei was then transferred into a world that was colored the same way it is when Moka transforms into inner Moka. Issei then took flight and flew for mics and descended to the ground at fast speeds and landed, creating shockwave and a mini crater to form on the ground. Issei walked to what he saw, and a castle that was colored black with a red outline and a red moon above it, and his sights were on inner Moka. He flew onto the balcony of a bedroom and he saw inner Moka in a nicely decorated hot spring with water that was colored green with the scent of herbs, tickling his senses with soothing smell of the water. Inner Moka was an unsuspected girl who didn't sense Issei's presence in her domain, and Issei stripped out to his bare skin and went into the hot spring slowly, and his whole body was submerged in the hot water of the spring, making him relax. Inner Moka, who then felt ripples touch her skin, opened her eyes and saw Issei getting into the water and enjoying himself. Inner Moka. How's the water? Issei. Oh, so now you take notice of me, huh? Well, to answer your question, the water is nice on my skin. You should tell me what you used to make it smell so nice, Moka. Inner Moka. Well, glad you like it. A moment of silence passes by and Moka asks a question. Inner Moka. What do you want, Issei? She asked, opening her eyes and sees Issei's impressive physique, which made her blush a little. Issei. I came to ask a question regarding your outer self. Inner Moka. Go on. She asked, sitting upright and putting her arms on the edge of the hot spring that the two were in, exposing her whole body, making Issei blushing at seeing Inner Moka's bare body. Issei. Well, today we are looking to get into clubs, and when we couldn't find any, we were offered to join the swimming club, and Moka didn't want to swim, so may you explain. Inner Moka's eyes widen a bit. Inner Moka. Well, looks like the succubus and the witch didn't tell you, did they? Issei. Didn't tell me what? Issei said, sitting slouched with his elbows on his thighs. Inner Moka. That our species, Shinso vampires, have a weakness, and that weakness is water. Issei. What does water do to your species? Inner Moka. Isn't it, you know how normal vampires burn from the sunlight? Issei nods. Well, for us water does the same thing, but more severe, and it's because of its purifying properties, it makes us weak. Issei. So the reason why you are not burning is because of the herbs I'm smelling. Inner Moka. You are correct. Issei. So now I just have to make sure she is as far away from water as possible. Inner Moka. Yes, and if you don't, I'll kick your ass, you hear me? She said, releasing her monster energy, and even though Issei is a dragon, he could still feel a bit of sweat run down his face. Issei. Well, I'll take my leave. Issei gets out of the hot spring, and Moka looked at him for about a second and got out as well, and both left in the opposite direction of each other, with blushes on their faces. Inner Moka arrived in a room and covered herself in a crimson blanket and went to sleep with a thought on her mind. Inner Moka. Blush, why is it so big? With Issei. Issei. Goodness gracious me. Moka's got a perfect body. Issei said, dressing up and getting ready to leave the dimension of the Rosary. Outside of the Rosary dimension. Issei came back to the real world and saw that Moka was still confused about what Issei was doing, and he took his hand off her head and stood up and was about to carry Moka, but was interrupted by the club president and her members, holding on to Issei in their swimsuits. Itchiness. You're supposed to be in the pool. Issei. Well, Issei was about to speak but was pulled down to the ground, and the girls began to strip him. Member. He's so hot. MEMBER2. Take it off. Take it off. Issei. Wait a goddamn minute. Once they were done, the female members of swim club looked at Issei's physique, which made Moka, girl onlookers, and the swim club members blush at Issei's built body. Some girls offered to swim with him, but Itchiness volunteered, and the girls moved away in defeat since they could not beat their leader, who was considered to be more beautiful than themselves. Moka called out to him and was about to run to him, but she was stopped by Itchiness standing in front of her. Itchiness. So you're the famous Moka Akashiya. I hear rumors that you're a vampire. True. Moka. Itchiness. In any case, this is the swim club. If you aren't here to swim. Moka. 10 minutes later. Moka looked at the side of Issei and Itchiness swimming together, and Itchiness complimenting Issei on his form of swimming, while Moka looked at this with silence and a face of anger. Ichinus then took Issei's wrist and put it between her breasts, surprising Issei a bit. Ichinus then began touching Issei around his upper part, mostly getting a feel of his abs, chest and arms. She would occasionally push her breasts onto his back, making male onlookers jealous and the intention to kill, but Issei didn't mind them. Female members of the swim club looked at Issei, who was swimming gracefully. Member 1. I see why Tamao set her sights on him. Member 2. No fooling. He's a real catch. Member 3. I just wish I'd talked to him first. Issei wanted to take dry in the sun for a bit but was pulled in by Ichinus, and she clinged to him and put her breasts on top of his head. Ichinus took a glance to Moka, who glanced back. Somewhere on campus. Kurumu is seen walking in the hall with a basket of cheesecakes. Student 1. Somebody saw her going to the pool. Student 2. Man, I gotta see her in a swimsuit. Kurumu almost chocked on the dessert. Kurumu. Moka's in the swim club. Does it mean that Issei's in it too? Munch, she never does anything unless he does it. Kurumu stopped and looked at the sky with a smirk. Kurumu. You're not winning that easily. Moka Akashiya. I can wear a swimsuit too. And then Kurumu begins to think while munching on cheesecakes that it's odd vampires and water. At the pool. Moka had a cross vein appearing on her head while growling and muttering words as she looked at Issei in the pool, and on his face, he also began to have a cross vein appear on his head because of how clingy and snuggly Ichinus is becoming, and it's getting on his nerves. At one point after a few seconds Issei was about to snap, but Moka beat him to it by hitting with both hands, breaking the bench into splinters. FSSSSHHH. Moka. Enough already. Issei, did you join the swim club just so you can flirt with girls? I can't keep watching this. I'm leaving. Issei jumped out of the water and used his flames to dry himself and landed behind Moka. Issei. I only said I would temporarily join, not actually join their club. Moka had her bangs covering her eyes and she turned to Issei angrily. Moka. You don't understand. I can't swim because. Issei had a feeling something was going to happen and he saw it as Ichinus used her hand to splash water onto Moka. Issei. Flame. Issei's hand shot out flames and it turned the water targeting Moka into steam. Moka looked at Ichinus in surprise and then looked towards Issei. Issei. Ichinus. You will not do that to her. Ichinus. Oh, but why, it's just a little water. You know it's either take or be taken. What Issei expected was for her members to splash water as well, and he was right, he saw all of them do the same, but Issei lifted Moka and Blitz away from where they were aiming and went outside the boundary of the pool area and jumped back in. Ichinus. What did you mean when you said you wouldn't join our club, Issei? She asked in a confused tone. Issei. I said that. With honor and ambition. Ichinus. Don't be ridiculous, Issei. Right after we tried to get rid of that annoying little Moka. The fun's just starting. Ichinus began to cackle and she looked at Issei while her body transformed with her beauty fading and her skin turned into scales and her legs turned into one big tail. Issei looked round the pool and he saw the other members transform as well, and they were targeting the male members and biting them, and as soon as they bit a male student his energy began to dissipate as the girl sucked his energy from his body. Issei. The fuck? Ichinus was submerged underwater. Ichinus had don't think badly of us. We lure men to water and suck out their life force. It's just the way we're made. Ichinus jumped out and her full form was revealed. Issei. Mermaids. The other members began to swim in a clockwise direction and a whirlpool was formed in the pool. SSSSSSSSS, SSHHH. Issei then jumped in to help the male students and kicked all of them out of the pool. Once all of them were out, Issei was in the grip of Ichinus, the mermaid. Ichinus. You're special, Issei. I've had my eyes on you since our opening day ceremony. I've been so hungry to meet you because. CHK. You smell so nice, just like a human. Ichinus smiled as the sides of her mouth cracked and her jaw widened enough to fit a bowling ball. Ichinus. And now, finally, I get to eat you. Ichinus was about to eat Issei, but saw Moka and Ichinus told Moka to jump into the water, but Issei did let that happen, and Issei was in the air and saw Kurumu running to the pool, and he blitzed straight towards her and told her to take Moka away from here. Kurumu. Why? Issei. This fight is gonna be explosive. Kurumu ran away with Moka in her arms, and Issei flew back to the pool and confronted the mermaids with his aura at full blast. Issei. Ddraig. You ready? Ddraig. Ready as I'll ever be, partner. Boost. 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 Ddraig and Issei. Explosion. The gigantic buildup of power was a tremendous amount, and it forced all of the mermaids to transform into their human forms and run away as to not get annihilated. Issei transformed all of those boosts into one singular sphere the size of a golf ball, throws it in the air, stands above it and shouts. Issei. Dragon shot. As soon as the orb hit the ground it completely leveled the pool to a flat land, and the shockwave slightly made a few people fall to the ground, but all was alright. A few days later. Issei was sitting in detention and was getting bored. Issei. I think I went overboard a bit. Ddraig. No, you didn't. Plus it must have felt good to completely dominate another monster species, doesn't it? Issei. Yeah. But I got detention for destroying the pool. Issei heard a knock and Miss Neckenham entered the class. Miss Neckenham. Oh. Issei. Just the person I was looking for. Have you decided what club to join yet? You and Moka are the only ones who haven't made their choices. Issei. Sigh no, I'm afraid I have not. Issei said while his head was on the desk facing out to the window. Miss Neckenham, happy. Oh, I'm so glad. Then you can both join my club, the newspaper club. No one's joined yet and it's on the brink of collapsing. Issei. Well. Miss Neckenham began to beg for him to accept and he hasn't seen Moka ever since. Then he heard a familiar voice. Moka. We'd love to join. Sensei. Issei. Huh? Wah? Moka. Morning, Issei. Issei. Moka, I thought you were going to be absent today. Moka. I had to recuperate from the trauma I went through, but thanks to you it was over. In other words, she overslept. Issei. Oh, thank goodness. Moka smiled at Issei's reaction, and her smile made Issei more motivated to protect her at all costs to keep that smile. Miss Neckenham pulled out a paper that said welcome. Miss Neckenham. Alright then. We have a club. Gurumu and Yukari popped out of nowhere which surprised them. Gurumu and Yukari. I'll join the club too. Issei and Moka smiled at each other and we're happy that they finally joined a club. Beep 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 crush. Issei's hand balled in a fist is sizzling with a fiery aura as he crushed the alarm clock into pieces and melting it a bit. He didn't like his alarm waking him up, but what could he do? Issei sits on his bed contemplating why is he even here and shook his thoughts away and got up and checked and it was 5 AM. He put on a track outfit that looked similar to Kuoh's but red with black stripes from the shoulder to the wrist and wore Nike running shoes and opened a magic circle to his home and walked through it leaving his dorm. Issei's home. Issei appeared in his home on the 3rd floor and evaded all of the traps his mother set on the floor and safely made it to the gym area. Issei puts on headphones and plays songs from Bring Me the Horizon, Imagine Dragons and various other artists while he did military grade workouts to keep his body in peak condition. His first part of the workout is to target all the major muscle groups of his body and he starts with 100 squats, 100 lunges, 100 hinges, 100 barbell squats, 100 reverse barbell, 100 lunges again, 100 barbell deadlift, 100 barbell bench presses and 100 barbell rows and takes a 15-minute break between all of the exercises. After that he teleports himself and the equipment outside to an abandoned airstrip that has a smooth surface and pushes, pulls and carries all of the equipment that weighed about 100 tons for 10 miles. After 2 hours. Issei's workout was complete and he put everything he used back to where they were, took a warm shower washing all the sweat off his body and went into his mother's room and stood by her bedside. Issei. Hope I'll see you again, Mom. He finished kissing her forehead and teleported out of the house to the garage. Issei. Let's unleash the demon. He smiled before taking the keys off the wall and pressed a button unlocking the car and getting in starting it and the exhaust made a loud growl which excited Issei and opens the garage door plus gate and stormed off with the supercharged moper with a drift. Issei's drive was smooth and nice when it was 7 AM in the morning and had plenty of time before school started, but the bad thing about the morning was that all the places were closed but one was open early. The nice breakfast and brunch cafe that opened just as he arrived and Issei parked the demon in front of the restaurant locking it and enters the restaurant and is greeted by a man with brown hair in his 30s and girl who looks to be in her 20s with blonde hair and red eyes who was blushing a bit at Issei's looks. The girl seated Issei at a table and would come back to take his order and she came back with an apron on. Girl. What may you like to order? Issei. I would like a large lean beef, quinoa, rolled oats, 5 avocados and 5 sprouted grain breads. The girl jotted his order down and asked if it's takeout or sit down eating and Issei decided to have his food as takeout. Some time later. Girl. Here's your order sir, hands Issei a huge bag, thank you very much for coming here. She bowed and Issei thanked her and walked out the store and into his car leaving the area with the car roaring loud and the sound of the car decimated soon after. The beach. Issei arrives on the sandy shores of his town and sat on the ground with a bag of food and ate his food with every bite tasting better while he listened to the sound of waves and seagulls flying around in the air. After he finishes eating and throws his things in the trash can and decided to have a bit of fun with his car and did some drifts and donuts destroying the asphalt, creating a lot of smoke and drove off satisfied. He then sees his watch and it read 7:35 and teleported the challenger to his house and himself into his dorm room and got into his uniform. Issei. Another monster stay. Issei walks down the stairs and is on his way to Yokai Academy. While he was walking outside of the dorm he happened to see Moka and greeted her. She greeted him back and took him to the same place where they won't be seen and asks the same question with her hands clasped together. Moka. Please let me suck your blood. Issei. Issei. Remember this will only happen on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, Moka. Moka. It's Wednesday today so I can suck your blood. Moka opened her mouth with her fangs bare and chomped on Issei's neck, sucked his blood for 5 minutes, and ever since Moka met Issei, she would get heavily addicted to the purity of his dragon blood. Later on. Issei and Moka see Kurumu and she is overjoyed at seeing Issei and holds his face between her G-cup breasts. Issei. I love this. He said mentally with a smile and held Kurumu up by her waist and spun her around making her scream a bit in excitement and he puts her down. Kurumu. We start our club today. Kurumu then smugly looks at Moka while she held Issei. Kurumu. Haha. Now that I've joined this club it won't be long until I've got my mate of fate by the heartstrings. I shall not lose to you, Moka Akashiya. While Issei was enjoying Kurumu's embrace, herself and Moka were glaring at each other. Issei. Wait, where the flying hell is Yukari? In the newspaper club room. Miss Nekanum. Okay, everyone, thank you all for joining. Now let's all get down to running a newspaper. The room was silent. Issei. This is it. He said, utterly shocked at how shallow the club is. Issei. Sensei, isn't there supposed to be like 4 members in a club? Miss Nekanum. You are correct. Male. My apologies. An unknown male said, getting everyone's attention. Miss Nekanum. Here is our other member. Male. It's awfully bad form to be late to the first meeting. Greetings. I am Janae Morioka, your editor. Janae is a handsome young man with ink black hair that he wears with a white headband under his hair and light green eyes. He wears the standard uniform, except for the tie, and his shirt is open a little, which shows a wolf head pendant he wears around his neck. Issei. Oh brother, he's our editor. Janae. And no editor has ever had a more beautiful staff. Janae looked around a bit and he saw Issei, who was sitting on the chair like a famous male model and had looks that surpassed his very own and that made him frustrated and decided to greet Issei. Janae. It's good to meet you, Issei stood up and was towering over Janae, which made him sweat a bit seeing Issei standing up and shook his hand. Issei Aono. Janae then tried to crush Issei's hand, but got a surprise when he felt Issei press against the right part of his palm, and Janae felt a wincing pain in his chest when Issei applied pressure to his palm and screamed internally, and Janae felt the chest pain fade after Issei let his hand go. Issei then saw Janae looked at Moka and he flicked his fingers and that made a strong force hit Janae's forehead and he looked at Issei and saw his eyes flash green for a second and got up standing next to Miss Nekanum by her desk. Miss Nekanum. You can ask Jin any questions you might have. After all, he's a sophomore. Janae. You can count on me. He said, making a playboy persona appear. Miss Nekanum left the room to go to a faculty meeting and asked Janae to run the meeting for her while she was away and he gladly accepted. Kurumu then hugged Issei's side while saying that the playboy types always make her nervous. Miss Nekanum. Just think of getting along with an upperclassman as a lesson in coexistence. Bye. She said, closing the door, and right after she left Janae got straight to business. Janae. Now then, I suppose you're asking yourselves, what is this club? Issei. I wonder who the flying hell asked. He said, looking around for the person who asked. Janae. Our objective is simple. The publication of the school newspaper. Our duty is to uncover any and all stories of interest to this school, even if it means putting our lives in danger. Understand? This is no club for slackers. HMPH, when you walk in here, you give us your soul. Issei. What the? Moka. He seems like a strong leader, doesn't he? Issei. Meh. I guess so. Flip. Janae held a poster in his hand and showed it to the members. Janae. But the most important thing is to have fun. Now would you kindly put this poster on that back wall? All three. Okay. Janae instructs the girls to stand on chairs in order to put the posters on the wall. Moka. Are you sure it's okay to put this so high up? Janae. Good point. A tad higher. Moka and Kurumu. Huh? Kurumu. A tad higher than this? Janae. Good point. Much higher. Issei looked over while adjusting his glasses and put a poster on the wall. Issei. So serious yet so flaky. What's the deal with this guy? Issei looked back, and when either of the two girls asked if it must go higher, Janae kept on replying with yes a number of times with a giggle. Then Janae crouched down with a blush and a smile on his face which looked way too familiar to Issei. Issei. That's the face I made when I was a pervert. I gotta step in. Issei walked over and blocked Janae's peeking of the girl's skirts, which made Janae growl. Moka and Kurumu. Is something going on? Janae. Oh, Issei only mentioned that he just saw your underwear. Hahaha. Moka and Kurumu. What? They exclaimed embarrassed. Issei. You're the one who saw it. You fucking bitch. Issei tried to explain who was the one who looked up their skirts, but they wouldn't listen to reason and moved to slap him across the face at the same time, but Issei blocked the slap with his arm, moved his head out of the way, and slapped their hands away. Issei looked at all of them with anger. Issei. I didn't peek under your skirts. Issei leaves the clubroom, clicking his tongue at Moka, Kurumu and Janae especially. Issei walked the halls with the force to have cracks on the floor. Issei. The audacity that Janae really tried to make me look like a pervert. Fuck no. Lint. The green gem on the back of Issei's hand glowed bright and the voice of his partner spoke. Ddraig. Where do you plan on going? Hearing Draig's voice gave Issei relief, and when he heard Draig's question he stopped in a secluded area. Issei. I don't know, I'm just angry that Janae tried to put the blame of peeking under Moka and Kurumu's skirts on me. Ddraig. Well, you better be on your guard, alright. I sense something about that boy. Smells like a bitch but has some power. So be wary of him. Issei. Fine. The next day. Moka. Sorry, but I don't like perverts. Issei was a bit affected but not entirely. Issei. So you really don't believe me when I said it was not me? He asked Moka, but she turned her head away from him and walked away. Issei. Okay, I'm getting the silent treatment. Issei continued to walk normally and entered the school. Moka. I believe him, but I have my pride. So I'll give him the silent treatment for a while. While Issei treaded through the school gates, Janae's face was in his mind. Issei. Fucking cunt. Girls who looked to be in their first year were talking to each other, and Janae approached them. Janae. May I ask you something? He said, using his smile to captivate the girls, and it worked fast and they got onto their knees and said that he could ask them anything because he was cute. Janae. Moka's spending a lot of time with Issei. Are they going out? Girl 1. Oh well, I'm not sure, but they're a pretty good couple. Girl 2. Totally. He's so hot that even girls from the first, second and third years fawn over him, and Moka is so beautiful that even the girls sigh over her. After a moment of silence, Girl 1 spoke. Girl 1. Oh, but remember. Somebody saw Moka kissing Issei on the neck. So maybe they are going out. Janae began to tremble. Janae, n, neck. Kissing on the neck. Janae then shouted in fear. Janae. That's not right. It's not even funny. Issei is bad. Bad. Yee. Girl 1 and 2. Yeesh. What's with him? Later on. Issei was roaming around the halls and Janae called him. Janae. Issei. Issei. Oh bitch boy. Janae. We're holding our club meeting on the roof today. Come with me. Issei. Okay. He said quizzically. Kurumu came around a corner seeing Issei and Janae talking and went to greet Issei, but he was already gone with Janae. At the back of the school. Issei. Please, I hope your mother didn't drop on the head as a child. You said the roof. Not the back of the school. Janae. Hahaha. Not to worry. The others will be here soon. After a few minutes of walking. Janae. I owe you an apology for yesterday. I hope Moka wasn't too angry. Issei. She only said one sentence and didn't speak another word since this morning. Issei. Moka can get pretty mean when she's mad. I've got to find a way to be rid of this image of my former self fast. Janae gleed and stopped walking. Janae. Ah. At last. Here we are, Issei. Issei. Mother of Janae, please, teach your son the difference between a roof and the back of the school. Issei cringed and cried a bit mentally at Janae's stupidity. Janae. You see that little window up there? Take a look through it. Janae pointed towards a small window on the wall. Issei. First huh. Second why. Janae. Go on. It's a laugh ride. Issei. The fuck do you mean a ride? Janae walked for a bit and looked far east. Janae. Oh, and another thing. Moka is even more beautiful than they say. Issei. Yeah, I know. Issei just about to look through the window, but heard Janae whisper some words. Janae. It was love at first sight for me. Issei looked at Janae with hollow forest green eyes, and Janae stared back. Janae. I'm serious. I am going to make Moka mine. Issei. Oh really, why talk now Olive? Issei heard the yammering and talking from the window, which was a quarter of the way open, and looked through it and exclaimed in surprise. Issei. Hold on, isn't this Janae? Precisely. The girls' locker room. Issei looked at Janae's hand and saw him holding a camera, and he clicked the button, taking a photo of Issei looking through the window. Janae. It's not nice to peep, Issei. And it's not smart to be caught doing it on camera. TSK. Won't Moka be upset when she sees this? He smiled maliciously. Issei. You fucking set me up. Issei responded to this by quickly moving fast and was about to snatch the camera from Janae's hand while he was talking how he's going to show the school, but Janae disappeared. Janae. All's fair in love and war, my friend. Until next time. He said, disappearing again and out of sight. Issei's shouts were heard by the girls in the locker room, and the girls looked through the window and saw Issei. Girl 1. There he is. Girl 2. Voyeur. Pervert. Issei. Shit. Issei blitzed away from the area and saw behind him that he was being chased by half-naked girls in underwear and towels with weapons in their hands. Issei had to think of something fast to get these girls off of him, and fast before they tried to kill him. He did many maneuvers and got away successfully most of the time he was being chased, but sometimes he didn't. And one of these unsuccessful attempts at getting away was when a girl jumped on him and he kicked her away from him. He then saw a girl with a lasso and it wrapped around him, but he ripped them off him, pulling the girl into the air and fell down, making a crater. Issei saw a lot of girls in his line of vision and stopped while he was in a quad stance, looking at all the girls surrounding him. All of a sudden, when the girls were about to attack him, Moka screamed Issei's name in shock. Moka. Is it really true? Issei. No, it's a misunderstanding. I didn't have the intention of peeping. Issei looked at Moka, who had teary eyes. Issei. Oh fuck. Not again. Just like last time when he tried to explain, Moka gave him the same face when they were in the clubroom. Moka. Issei, please tell me you weren't peeping through that window. Were you? Issei. No. Moka ran away from Issei crying. Issei. I didn't mean to, you've got to believe me. Issei breathed in and out and kept calm in this dilemma. With Moka. Moka ran for a bit upstairs and was now on the roof and stopped her running and looked to the ground with tears in her eyes as the wind blew slowly and she gripped the steel barrier that surrounded the rooftop. Janae. Ah. Here you are, Moka. Moka. Moka turned around and saw Janae. Janae. A lovely night and such a beautiful full moon, yes. Moka. Jin. Janae. I heard about Issei. The fool. I hear they still have him surrounded. Don't tell me you're shedding tears for him. Moka looked away from Janae and he smiled at this and put his hand forward with pictures. Janae. This is being passed all around the school. Moka took the pictures from Janae's hand and was shocked to see the pictures had Issei peeping through the window. Janae. I suppose you'll call it an accident. Janae then waltzed next to Moka and gripped her shoulder, surprising her. Janae. There's no need to tell him you've seen the picture. It's too bad. Better just to forget all about him, don't you think? Janae pressed her arm as Moka partially agreed. Janae. Tonight I will comfort you. With Issei. Issei was just put into a room after they told him to stay in there, but soon after they left he broke out of his binds and looked out the window with his eyes flaring emerald green. Issei. Ddraig, I'm gonna end up beating somebody up tonight. He said darkly as he cracked his knuckles and neck. Ddraig. And I'll be watching it with joy. Ddraig said with anger and happiness that his partner is gonna rip the bitch, Janae, a new one. Issei looked at the window and heard his name being called. Issei. Kurumu. Is that you? Kurumu. Yes it is. Issei. Okay. Kurumu. Move away. Kurumu backed away from the window. Issei. Yushuo. He screamed and punched the wall. Bam. 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 After the final punch, the wall broke into pieces of rubble, and once he was out he clapped his hands hard, making the dust around him go away. Kurumu. Issei. I fear something might happen to Moka. Then Issei and Kurumu heard a scream, and it was only one girl that they knew. Issei. Moka. Issei and Kurumu immediately had their wings out, and Issei directed himself and Kurumu to Moka. With Moka. Moka. Let me go, Jin, what do you think you're doing? Janae laughs while he held on to Moka provocatively. Janae. What am I doing? Holding you gently in my arms. Moka. You were not. You were feeling me up. Janae stopped and looked towards the sky as the clouds moved, exposing the full moon and shone on the school. Janae. Well, it is a full moon, isn't it? And under the full moon, my power surges. And so do my appetites. So don't fight me. That will only make me mad and I'll lose control. Janae trying to kiss Moka, but she was pushing him away. Moka. No. Shove. Janae. Wah. Boom. Moka shoved Janae, sending him flying into the entrance to the roof, destroying it. She looked at the picture of Issei looking through the window. Moka. Issei said he didn't mean to look, and I believe him. I want to believe him, not some pictures. FWSH. She exclaimed, throwing the pictures into the air, flying away with the wind. She then looked towards where Janae was shoved. Moka. Janae rose up from the rubble with a grin on his face. Janae. Has such a sweet, generous girl, it only makes me want you more. And when I get like this I simply can't control myself. Winds began to come out of nowhere, and sounds of buzzing began to sound like thunder as a huge amount of monster energy began to rise from Janae. Moka gulped at what was happening and spoke worriedly. Moka. Jin. Janae. And I did warn you, under the full moon my appetites grow strong. Janae's voice became deeper, teeth became razor sharp as his body twitched and began to grow larger, and his face morphed into a full werewolf. Janae. Now, Moka Akashiya, you are mine. Moka closed her eyes in fear, and Janae was about to pounce Moka. He suddenly stopped. Janae. What the hell? She opened her eyes and saw Issei and Kurumu landing on the roof, standing side by side. Moka. Issei. Kurumu. Kurumu. I saw everything. I was hiding nearby when Jin sent Issei to that window and tricked him into looking. Janae looked at Kurumu with a glare and a growl. Janae. My scheme ruined, curse you, get away from me, Issei. I was right, he really is a bitch. Issei looked at the rosary. Issei. Hey Moka. Why don't you sit this one out? Janae. Huh, what did you saw? Janae didn't finish his sentence since Issei's fist was buried into his gut and was instantly thrown away from the academy. Issei gathered his aura in the form of green flames that melted the concrete he stood on and blasted off into the air, into the forest. VRRSH. In the forest. Janae. Erg. Doom. Janae had just landed onto a forest clearing after Issei brutally punched him, and he recovered slowly from the pain of the punch and the impact. Janae. GRRR. Son of a. Crash. Dust flew in the air and blocked Janae's field of vision, and after it cleared he saw Issei with his eyes glowing green and a scowl on his face, and his body being surrounded by a green flame aura. Issei. Do you want to complete that word or not? Janae lunged at Issei with amazing speed. He looked like a blur as he charged towards Issei, but before he could make contact he switched directions and dashed over to the side. Janae. I'm an S-class monster, what could you possibly hope to do to me? From there he began to circle Issei at high speeds, making it look like he made 5 clones of himself because of his speed, but Issei simply took a run-up stance and watched Janae's movements. Janae. What's the matter? Don't know where I'll attack from? Issei. Actually. Before Issei finished, he vanished out of thin air, leaving Janae baffled as he continued to run. His confusion only lasted a millisecond because Issei appeared directly in front of Janae, crouching down in front of him. Issei. You ain't that fast. With a quick launch Issei planted his fist into the werewolf's chin, sending him flying high into the sky. Janae, while in the air, looked at Issei and dived onto him, thinking that he drove Issei into the ground, but he could only see Issei holding his fist. Janae tries to make Issei lose his grip, but it doesn't work. He then tried to swipe at Issei with his claws, but Issei grabbed his arms, forcing him into the air, and slams him into the ground, creating a crater. Janae jumps out of the crater with sweat dripping from his body and slid a few feet back, leaving claw marks, and as soon as he regained his balance, he rushed back into the fight. Issei quickly charged towards Janae full speed while keeping a calm expression, spun around and kicked Janae's knees, punched with his right fist. Janae blocks it, but Issei spun around again, and his fist made a hit on Janae's cheek, making him falter backwards with a grunt, and Issei charged forward and did a knee-high uppercut, and Janae dodges it and put his arms to defend and tanks a punch and a high kick from Issei, and got kicked again on the same leg, but this kick hit directly onto his knee. Janae winced in pain and tries to punch Issei, but he dodges it and gets jabbed more than 10 times, and they hurt like hell. Then the next one hit Janae square in the face and was dazed a bit and held his defense up and got endless punches and kicks from Issei, incomprehensible by his eyes. Issei. ARRRRR. Issei purposely kicked upward, breaking Janae's jaw and knocking him to the floor. Fists hit Janae's arms again and again, and Janae goes for a jab to Issei's skull and doesn't make a hit, and Issei continued his flurry of punches, does a swiping kick with his shin horizontally onto Janae's arms, protecting his face. Then out of nowhere Janae's right bicep ruptured from the heavy force of the kick to his arm, and his arm completely shut down. Issei walked towards Janae with his fist balled up, and Janae tried to attack with his leg, but it was swiftly broken by Issei kicking it and stepped on Janae's broken arm and leg again. And again, while Janae howled and cried in pain from having his leg being broken. Issei stopped his stomping and walked away furiously from the bloodied werewolf's body and looked towards the sky and saw Kurumu flying with Moka in her arms and landing onto the ground. "Kurumu, is the fight over?" she asked Issei with a fear from his angry expression. Issei, "Yeah. It's over." "Kurumu, that's good because we got what we needed." Issei, "Which is?" "Kurumu, proof that you're innocent as well as the evidence of the real culprit." Issei, "Oh thank you Kurumu," he said, letting out a sigh of relief and walked towards Janae's unconscious body and stomped his gut, making him spit out blood, waking him up. Issei, "You're busted, bitch boy." "Janae, how?" he asked weakly. Issei, "Well since you ask I'll tell you." Janae looked at Issei with fear as his monster power began to rise up every second and he saw Issei unfurling two gigantic wings from his back and in a bright green flash, he transformed into his full form. Absolutely terrifying Janae. Issei, "Now you better confess that it was you who framed me for peeping or else I'll burn you to ash and send them to your family. You got that?" Janae transformed back into his human form, so does Issei, and Janae agreed to confessing to the school about peeping. A week later, the article about Issei being proved innocent were released by the newspaper club and many girls apologized too for imprisoning him and he forgave them. Moka also apologized for what happened and Issei forgave her too. From that day forward girls resented and chased Janae every time they saw him peeping in his condition with a healed arm and getting away from the hordes of girls in crutches. "Janae, I will have you, Moka Akashiya." Issei and Ddraig were absolutely losing it and laughed at Janae being chased by girls while screaming in fear. Ddraig, ha 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 ha. Issei laughed for a bit and Issei felt two hands gripping his shoulder. He looked down and saw Moka. Issei, "Today's the day, huh?" Moka, "Yep." Moka happily jumped onto Issei and bit his neck, enjoying his blood with a smile on her face. "Ooh." Issei, "In this secret school hidden behind a magical barrier, the sky always filled with thick clouds and I'm still in winter uniforms, the fuck?" Moka, "Issei, you seem so far away." Issei, He jolted a bit in surprise when he heard Moka. Moka, "Only 2 days till the paper prints. Come on, we've gotta keep working." Issei, "Sorry. Just lost track of time for a second there." Issei laughs a bit and Moka had sweat drop on her head. Moka, "I know it's hard. Yesterday was your birthday and today we're on a tight deadline." Issei, "Oh yeah." Flashback. Just the other day, on Issei's birthday, Moka was called by the art teacher for a modeling act in class and Issei becomes a bit suspicious and goes to the class to find Moka almost turning half stone and other female students who were turned into stone. Issei, confidently, well, what do we have here? A Medusa causing trouble on my birthday. Medusa-like creature. Hissing, "You won't stop me. I'm here to claim these students." Issei, smirking, "Big mistake. I've got this." With a display of skill and determination, Issei subdues the creatures and rescues Moka and the other female students. Moka, grateful, "Issei, you saved us. How did you manage to defeat them?" Issei, grinning, "Just a birthday adventure. No big deal." Immediately after that the art teacher was fired. Flashback end. Issei, "Right. Must concentrate, we've gotta get the story about our Medusa art teacher in print." Speed is the lifeblood of a newspaper. Issei's birthday seemed like it's from another lifetime. He's a journalist now. His reporter wheels are at full speed. Issei, Moka and Kurumu were writing and Yukari was typing in the computer ever since Saturday rolled over in the morning and Issei is hauling ass on this article while the girls were getting exhausted from writing while Issei felt nothing and kept pushing. Then suddenly, out of completely nowhere, Janae's voice boomed across the room, shocking all of them. "Janae, quit complaining. Newspapers live and die by deadlines. Our front page story happened Thursday, the day before yesterday. If we don't have it in print by the beginning of next week, we can hardly call it news." Janae finished while flipping through the Yokai Times. Janae sips his coffee, "Save your bitching for after we've put the paper to bed." Moka stands up annoyed at Janae. Moka, "Don't just sit there sipping your coffee." Yukari giggled at Janae. Yukari, "Just like a manga editor." While all this was happening, Issei felt a tug on his blazer and Kurumu held onto Issei's arm, not completely shocking him while exclaiming in a loving way. Kurumu, "Well, I don't care what I'm doing as long as I'm with you, Issei." Issei, "Me too." Moka, "Kurumu." Kurumu questions Moka on why she shouted out her name as the vampire and the succubus stared at each other as rivals. Yukari, "Time for a cat fight. Ready set go." Kurumu then latched onto Issei's blazer and laid her head on his hard chest, making him look down to her and his cheeks turning into a faint red. Kurumu, "I know you thought you'd sneak something past me on Issei's birthday, but I'm not that dumb." Kurumu let out a "nai" sound while sticking out her tongue at Moka. "Kurumu, I'll never let you have him." Moka looked morbidly shocked at Kurumu's statement and went on to continue their little battle. On a tree, far from campus. The camera extends and snaps a photo of Kurumu with Moka complaining and clicks even more photos of her. Male. "Ah. There she is. My love." Sighs and snaps another photo of Kurumu sticking her tongue playfully out at Moka, "So sweet. I can't stand just watching her from afar." The unknown male speaks in a creepy voice staring at Kurumu. Male. "Soon, Kurumu, you will be mine. Hee hee." Back in the club room. ZHOOP. The door slide open and Miss Nekanum enters the class with her cheerful and excited attitude. "Miss Nekanum. Everyone hard at work. I brought munchies. Tat. Gine." Tapping on his laptop, Miss Nekanum. Gine continued to type on his laptop. "Miss Nekanum. How are things progressing?" "Ah, but I guess I don't really need to ask." Sketching noises and typing keys were coming from the group. Moka. So many pages in this issue. Miss Nekanum reached into her bag and threw something to Issei, in which he caught it. Miss Nekanum. "Well, have a snack. It'll lift your spirits." Issei. "Whoa, Miss Nekanum, what's with the live fish?" Miss Nekanum. "Just a little surprise, Issei. I thought you might enjoy the freshest sashimi experience." Issei. "Sashimi, huh? I'm down for that." Activates fire breath, cooking the fish. Issei takes a bite, pulls out the fish with its skeleton intact. Issei. That's surprisingly good. I like it smoked, though." Miss Nekanum walks towards Kurumu with a letter in hand. Miss Nekanum. "Oh, Kurumu, this is addressed to you. I saw it by the door." Kurumu. "An envelope." Kurumu takes the love letter and flips, and to her shock it said. "The my beloved Kurumu." Nagger. Kurumu. "A love letter. Nagger. Who's that?" Kurumu rips the envelope open, and to her complete shock, it was photographs of her in her nightgown and some photos showing her panties under her skirt. Kurumu. "This is no love letter. Unless you want these photos to spread all over the school, come alone to the monster tree at the Yokai Academy landmark." Issei looked towards Kurumu and swallowed the cooked fish and asked if everything was alright. Kurumu got a bit of a scare by Issei's voice and quickly put the envelope and the photos into a box that was the toolbox for the newspaper. Kurumu. "It's blackmail. Blackmail. But what can I do?" Kurumu then moved away from the toolbox and walked towards the door in a bit of a rush. Kurumu, "I just remembered something I have to do. See ya. Ahaha." Issei. Kurumu. "Moka. But our deadline." Kurumu had already left, and this made Moka concerned about why Kurumu left the club in such a hurry, and Issei shared the same concern, but curious on why she left, even though they have a serious deadline on their hands. Yokai Academy landmark. The monster tree. Kurumu. Hello. Kurumu arrived at the location that was in the letter with a bit of nervousness. Suddenly she hears a voice up in the monster tree and looked up to the silhouette of a teenager. Male. "Ah, I've been waiting for you. I'm so pleased my letter found you." Kurumu is then able to see the teenager and sees a male that has nearly shoulder-length blonde hair, closed eyes, and weirdly seems to sweat a lot. Male. "I've been waiting a long time, Kurumu." Kurumu looked up at the male with her cheeks flushed red in embarrassment. Kurumu. "Who or why you? And how did you get these pictures of me?" Kurumu then searched her pockets for the photos, but then realized that she left in such a hurry and left the photos in the toolbox. The unknown male slid down the tree and landed on the ground on his knees and got up, dusting them. Male. "Cute shots, weren't they? They're my favorites." The unknown male wheezed and painted in a way that creeped Kurumu out. After few seconds he stood halfway up with a slurping-like sound, still panting and wheezing with sweat dripping from his face like a slightly open faucet. Kurumu looked at him with a little bit of disgust and fear mixed into her face. Kurumu. "What's with this guy? So sweaty and you sticky." Gulp. The unknown male then faced Kurumu with closed eyes, pointing his thumb at himself. Male. "I'm Nagger Kano. Wheeze, don't you remember me? From when we started school here." He finished and then complimented Kurumu about her beauty and asked if he could take her picture. Kurumu then smiled at the comment and spun her head and asked he really thought so. She then asked him if she was the best looking girl in the school. And asked if she's prettier than Moka Akashiya, and she giggled cutely after. Nagger then they told her that she's got way bigger boobs than Moka, which made her happy. Kurumu. "Teehee. If you take nice pictures of me I'll go out with you." Kurumu said, making Nagger shocked and happy. Nagger. "I'm sure you remember." Kurumu looked at him while his eyes were closed, a bit freaked out. Kurumu. "Not a thing, course guys are always after me. And I can be a bit competitive when it comes to Moka." Nagar then spoke with sweat dripping off his face with his eyes covering his eyes. Nagar. I've been waiting ever since seems like forever. Kurumu got even more creeped out by the way his voice sounded and he continued showing his open eyes staring at her with sweat dripping more off his face. Nagar. And now you're going to keep your promise, Kurumu. If you don't those pictures are gonna get scattered all over school. Kurumu. In the newspaper club. Moka looked at the clock as it ticked every second with a worrisome look. Moka. Hey Kurumu hasn't come back. How committed do you think Kurumu is to the club, really? Yukari stopped typing on her laptop and shouted. Yukari. Deadline ditchers are the scum of the earth. Issei. Man for an 11-year-old, she's harsh. Issei amused at Yukari's harsh side. After a few minutes of tapping and writing, Moka suddenly stopped using her marker to darken the article's words. Moka. I mean, she only joined because she's after Issei, right? Issei and Yukari. Huh? Issei stopped writing his and Kurumu's work and Yukari stopped typing after what Moka said. Moka. She used to hate me. I don't think she considers us friends. I mean that would explain her taking off when we really needed her. This. Nekanum, Janae, Yukari and Issei looked at Moka with a sweat drop on each of their faces. Issei. Huh? I really thought you two were getting along wonderfully. She must have had something urgent to do. This. Nekanum looked and saw a silent and slightly gloomy atmosphere in the clubroom. This. Nekanum. Oh my, and I thought they were all bonding so well. I'm afraid I failed. With Kurumu and Nagar. Kurumu. Wait, what's up with this? How come I have to wear gym clothes on our date? She puts her fingers on her chin with a small smile, but not joyful one, and why clothes from another school? Nagar erupted in happiness and told her that it's called pin-up photography. Nagar complimented Kurumu about how those shots looked great on her, wheezing and panting overjoyed. He began to snap multiple of photos at different angles. Kurumu, feeling too embarrassed, had to speak loudly to Nagar. Kurumu. I didn't agree to this. Put that camera down. Nagar got ticked off and clicked his tongue in anger. Nagar. TSK. You better watch what you say. BMM. Kurumu. Ulp. Nagar had his left eye glint and a white light under his bangs glowed. Nagar. I have a special talent that lets me learn a girl's secrets. I know a lot of your secrets, Kurumu. Nagar then began to list the many things Kurumu has kept to herself and only herself, that she would be too embarrassed to tell anyone, and called Nagar a pervert. He then has a grin etched into his face. Nagar. Maybe I should tell those things to your Issei, hehehe. This immediately alerts and shocks Kurumu Kurono and was almost on the verge of tears when he mentioned that he knows about Issei. Kurumu. Don't not Issei. Nagar. Then put on this costume. Buam. Nagar reaches his hand into a shopping bag and swings around with a maid uniform in hand, shocking Kurumu. Kurumu. A maid uniform? Kurumu takes the uniform and walks towards another room. Kurumu. This is bad, this guy's getting carried away, maybe I can use my succubus magic to force him to obey me and… Kurumu undresses herself. Kurumu. No, I can't. Ever since I got to know Issei I just can't bear to perform evil deeds anymore. Kurumu gets finished dressing and she flies into the air and sits down on a branch of the monster tree, extremely embarrassed with a look of worry on her face. Kurumu. What am I going to do? Well, I'm trapped here, the rest of the gang is in an awful time crunch. A few hours later. Night had begun to fall and Kurumu makes it to the school and she was exhausted to the point that she began to wobble and used the shoe lockers as support. Kurumu. Free at last. Before she made it to the school, Nagar told her to wear a school swimsuit and she had to wear 12 more costumes till Nagar was satisfied and let her go. Kurumu then rushes towards the newspaper club and makes it to the door, and upon opening it a bit and wondered if everyone was still there, the door suddenly swung open and Kurumu was alerted by the high pulse of Mr. Energy irradiating from everyone in the room that were glaring at her. But the most scariest one to see was Issei's face, as it had his eyes slightly becoming emerald green and his face partially turning dragon, is what scared her the most. Kurumu. They're pissed off. They hate me. They're gonna yellow at me. Kurumu closed her eyes, scared of everyone, and as she thought she was going to get a earful equivalent to 1,000 thrashes of a whip. No one shouted her. Issei, hey Kurumu. You're back. Kurumu opened her eyes and saw that everyone's face returned to normal. And all of them were pushing their chairs into place. Yukari. We just decided to call it a day. Kurumu. Huh? Janae. You might as well head back to the dorm. Zhoo, bam. Kurumu only heard the door close and everyone was gone and headed to their dorms. Her eyes widened and realized. Kurumu. I was too late. Kurumu stood in the empty and quiet room alone. She pulls a chair and sits on it. Kurumu. I used to be so conceited, using my succubus powers to turn guys into slaves. But even though they pampered me like a princess, I never made a single real friend. Now that I know better, I'm paying the price." A tear fell from her face as she was just about to get up from her chair and apologize to the gang for leaving them, but hear a familiar chuckle. "Nagar? Hehehe, what's wrong, Kurumu?" Kurumu gasped in surprise and turned around to see Nagar standing against the entrance of the room, sweating profusely, holding his camera steadily with a creepy smile on his face. "Nagar? Today was real fun, wasn't it? Huffpant wheeze, let's play again tomorrow, Kurumu? And Nagar, what are you doing here?" Gasp, "I only promised you one date. I don't owe you any more." Nagar crept closer to Kurumu, clicking his tongue. "Nagar? TSK, don't be so cold. Want me to show Issei the pictures we took today?" Kurumu? "What? No. You can't. You promised no one would see those." Nagar then looked at Kurumu with one of the creepiest smiles she has ever seen before and a glare that could make her cry, and his voice became dry. "Nagar? They won't if you play with me again tomorrow. I'm never letting you go now." Kurumu? "No, not tomorrow." Kurumu walked backwards and ran to the door at the back of the room, running out shouting that Nagar should quit following her around anymore, and slammed the door closed. Nagar listened to Kurumu's loud steps disappear and looked at the desk where he sees the newspaper all laid out on the table and thought of a devious plan. Sunday. The next day everyone came into the room ready to do more work, and once Moka put her arms on the table and looked at the table and saw that there was nothing on the table and got up in shock. "Moka? The layout we made yesterday, it's gone, it's all gone." Issei and Yukari. "What? Buon? Dine? How? Did somebody steal it?" "Moka? What'll we do? We don't have time to start over." Yukari held her face in shock. "Yukari? All my data have been erased, the backup file is gone too, my diary's been opened." "Moka? Your diary?" Yukari then touches the keyboard. "Yukari? And the keyboard is all sticky. Some sort of slime bleh." Issei looked at the keyboard with distaste and looked at Kurumu, who mentioned the word slime and briefly paused, which caught Issei's attention. Kurumu was utter shock, and she remembered that Nagar was the last person in the classroom last night and concludes that he must have taken the draft as a hostage to force her to do his bidding. "Damn." Dine slams his hands against his desk in anger. "Dine. Damn. We don't have any choice. There's no time to hunt for whoever took it. We'll have to start over." Issei, Moka, Yukari and Kurumu. "Dine. We'll cut you page count down. Just get it done." He exclaimed, and then Kurumu spoke up. "Kurumu? Guys." Everyone looked at Kurumu awaiting what she has to say. Kurumu puts her hand behind her back, shaking in what looked like fear. "Kurumu? I know this is a really bad time, but I can't stay to help out today." "Moka? Kurumu, what is wrong with you? How can you bail on us at a time like this? Don't you care about anyone but yourself?" Kurumu wobbled a bit and didn't respond to Moka and looked at everyone, then closed her eyes. "Kurumu? I can't. If I tell them the truth, there's no telling what he might do." Kurumu then walked away from everyone and headed towards the door, saying that she has to go. Moka then called out to Kurumu. "Moka? Kurumu, I'm disappointed in you. I thought your change of heart was sincere. Well, we don't need you in this club then." Kurumu? At the monster tree. Kurumu walked to the spot where Nagar wanted her to arrive, and she saw him sitting on a branch of the monster tree. "Nagar? Heh. I knew you'd come, Kurumu." Nagar then pulled out the Yokai Times paper and backup data and held it, showing Kurumu. "Nagar? Looking for this? TSK, what a boring newspaper. The writing is so amateurish. I could do better illustrations than this. The only thing it's good for is lighting a fire." Kurumu balled her fist so hard, her knuckles became white. "Nagar? So what's it's worth to you, Kurumu?" Takes out a lighter and holds the flame millimeters away from the paper. "If you want to save it, you better do whatever I tell you to." Kurumu? "Go ahead, burn it." Nagar? "What?" Nagar then looked at Kurumu, and she stared at him coldly, which made him sweat and pee himself. Kurumu? "Sure. Destroy something that matters to the people I love. Go ahead and piss me off." Nagar? "I'm planning to defy me, eh? Blorp." Nagar? "Do you really think you can stand up to me?" Jop. TNG. Well, he was talking about he could take this since he's a monster too, and said it was time to play my trump card. He had appendages coming out of his neck. In the club room. Scrop. Issei stood up from his chair and stood up, having his hands on the desk, making everyone stop their work and look at Issei. Issei. "Hey, I'm going to go look for Kurumu." Moka also stood up and walked in front of Issei before he could walk out. Moka. "Why you can't? If you leave too, we'll never finish the paper in time." Issei. "Moka. But please stay and focus on this. Do it for the club if you won't do it for me." Issei held onto the sides of Moka's arms and moved her away from his path and walked past her, shocking her, making a tear fall out of her eye. Moka. What's going on? I thought we were getting closer since his birthday, but now. This. Nekonom noticed the little discord happening in the class and saw Issei about to exit the room, but Janae spoke. Janae. HMPH, so. You're not committed to this club, eh? Issei. Quite the opposite actually, bitch. I am committed to this club. Which is why I don't think it's complete if one of us is missing. This made everyone's eyes widen at Issei's statement. Issei. Plus, I've got a hunch that Kurumu is in some kind of trouble. Just as he was about to walk out of the class, Yukari shouted out in disgust, getting everyone's attention. Yukari. Curses. This is hideous. Yukari exclaimed while holding an envelope and the toolbox, and the letter read Kurumu's name from a person, or should they monster named Nagger. Issei. Who the hell's Nagger? Issei, with his super hearing, heard a scream, and it was Kurumu's. Issei blasted out of the clubroom's window, shattering the glass and blasting off, far from the academy. Moka. Issei. But Kurumu. Nagger, now partially transformed, grabs a hold of Kurumu's breast while he complimented its softness. Kurumu slapped his hand away. Nagger. What happened to that fiery spirit? Suddenly Kurumu fell to the ground, feeling weak after Nagger touched her. Her strength was completely dissipated. She looked at Nagger, who had a poisonous gas emitting from his body, and she covered her nose and held her breath while wobbling to the door of a shed. Kurumu. And no, if this keeps up I won't be able to move. Kurumu's hand reached a door handle, and she turned it and jumped into the shed, shutting the door instantly and locked it. This made Nagger laugh, and Kurumu now knows the extent to his powers, and he has basically trapped her so she can't escape. Kurumu breathed in and out heavily while she transformed into her succubus form. Kurumu. NGH, I can't let him win. Have to buy time, somehow find a chance to counterattack. Nagger put his head against the door and spoke in his monster voice. Nagger. So cute hiding in the storage shed. She wants to be caught. Kurumu looked down, and she saw that Nagger had lost his human form and is now a slug slipping under the door, making her shiver in fright as he crept closer. Kurumu. Shock. What's happening to you? Nagger. Haha. Don't you know a slug can slip through the narrowest cracks? Yep. I'm a slug monster. That's how I can sneak into girls' rooms to learn their secrets. Kurumu. How many girls have you spied on? That's awful. Nagger began to grow in size and smiled in his monstrous form. Nagger. I don't keep count, but out of all of them, you're the best catch. Nagger's form grew more and more disgusting and creepy while moving his enlarged, sweaty arm to touch Kurumu. Nagger. We're going to take lots of sexy pictures today. Kurumu couldn't move at all, his tentacles reaching closer to her face. Kurumu. No. I've got to defeat him. I have to get that draft back. Bam 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 crash. Kurumu and Nagger looked at the destroyed shed door and heard Issei Aono and Moka Akashiya's voice and silhouette through the dust. Moka. Yukari found that blackmail letter in the toolbox. We understand now, Kurumu. Kurumu's eyes went blank in shock. Moka. I'm so sorry, I jumped to the wrong conclusion. I assumed you still hated me. I thought you were just jealous of Issei. Kurumu. Moka. Issei. The club fell apart right away when you weren't there, Kurumu. We've come to help. We need you. I need you. Issei and Moka saw someone coming to them and thought it was Kurumu, but it was Nagger in his slug monster form. Moka. Eek. Issei. What the fuck is that ugly shit? Nagger looked at Moka with a disgusting smirk. Nagger, my lucky day. Next one on my list was Moka. She's hot. Two of Nagger's tentacles began to point at Moka and began to suck out her strength, but take any more, Issei pulled her away and used Ascalon 2 to cut off Nagger's tentacles, which made him scream in pain from the utter burning pain he was feeling made him scream. Kurumu looked at this with her eyes shrunken and saw that Issei was sweating a bit, and so was Moka. Some of their strength was sucked out. This made Kurumu mad, and I mean really mad. Kurumu. Issei. Moka. Nagger jumped at them again, wanting to do the same thing again, but he was stopped as he, Issei and Moka, felt a spike in monster energy. Kurumu. Stop, don't you lay a hand on my friends. Kurumu shouted in rage as her wings unfurled and her eyes began to spiral, creating waves that made Nagger scared shitless. Behind Nagger, the roots of the monster tree began to move and erupted into the air, piercing into his flesh, giving him lots of pain. Nagger. What? The tree's roots, why are they? Nagger questioned in shock. Kurumu. I won't let you get away with this. If you so much as touch Issei or Moka, you'll regret it forever. Kurumu shouted her lungs out as she began to control the trees, using their branches to combat against Nagger. All of a sudden Issei's glowed green and Moka's Rosario glowed red, and the two began to speak in unison with their voices booming. Ddraig and inner Moka. Her rage must have drawn out her latent powers. This is the true power of a succubus. The trees roared in anger and grabbed a hold of Nagar, lifting him into the air. Nagar told his body to move, but it didn't even budge at his command. Kurumu lifted her fist in the air and slammed her fist to the ground, making the tree slam. Nagar looked into the ground while screaming, and while the tree held him down. Kurumu used her claws to finish him off by slicing his throat with the force to crush a building, and it sliced his head off. Issei and Moka, while observing the battle, noticed that the roots were vanishing, but Ddraig and inner Moka's voice rang. The slit on the rosary became thin. Ddraig. Merely. Issei and Moka were shocked at this and asked what he meant, and inner Moka continued. Inner Moka. An illusion, born of Kurumu's magic. Powerful succubi can even kill an opponent with their illusions. Both their voices sounded menacing. Kurumu grabbed a hold of the draft and data disk and held it in the air with joy, while inner Moka continued to talk. Inner Moka. I never dreamed of having so much hidden power hidden within her. Kurumu. IG got it back. I got back what matters. Kurumu nuzzled the draft and disc on her chest. What matters to me? The three laughed it off for a while before returning to the clubroom and finished the deadline in time. Early Monday morning. Dong dong. Caw caw. The sound of the school bell rang and the crows cawed loudly. Miss Neckenham entered the classroom. This. Neckenham. Our deadline is upon us. How's the paper look? This. Neckenham opened her eyes and saw that Issei, Moka, Kurumu, Janae and Yukari soundly asleep on their work desk with the Yokai Times July edition on the table, and when she opened it, she was shocked that it was finished. She walks out with the paper while speaking in her thoughts. This. Neckenham. I guess the bond between them isn't so weak after all. Great work. Now leave the rest to me. Get some rest. This. Neckenham closed the door slowly and left while walking to her office to start the printing of the newspaper. Kurumu began to wiggle while she was asleep and had a bit of a flashback to yesterday. Kurumu. Sleepy, Issei. Moka. Kurumu. Can I come back to the club? Moka. Don't waste time asking stupid questions. Moka scratched her head while Janae was making sure the draft was alright. Issei stood up and continued after Moka. Issei. If we don't hurry, we won't make our deadline. And we'll have a lot more deadlines after this one. Kurumu. Sleepy. Oh, Issei. Yukari shed a tear and she felt Issei's warm hand on hers, and she smiled while looking at the sleeping dragon and interlocked her fingers with his and falling back to sleep. That's it guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.